Well, there you go. That went on basically all day, the impeachment hearings on Capitol Hill. Good evening. As we continue our show tonight, the circus train of impeachment remains stalled on the tracks. Official Washington trapped in gridlock, thanks to what you just saw. Around the world, foreign governments are quaking and toppling. Our own economy, by the way, is making some ominous noises that you would think somebody in charge might want to pay some attention to, but no. Here in Washington, our leaders remain transfixed by what you just saw. Transfixed by figures like Alexander Vindman, a low-level U.S. Army officer who played the role of star in today's hearings. It's a measure of how central Vindman and people like Vindman are to a certain kind of storyline that many media outlets today resolutely ignored the following exchange. Maybe the most remarkable thing that happened today. It happened on live television, but you may not have seen it. Here it is.
You went to Ukraine for the inauguration?
Correct.
20th. At any point during that trip, did Mr. Daniluk offer you a position of defense minister with the Ukrainian government?
He did.
And how many times did he do that?
I believe it was 3 times.
Wait, what? He was offered defense minister 3 times? Keep in mind that Alexander Vindman was born in Ukraine, speaks Ukrainian, and clearly has strongly held views about Ukrainian politics, views that may or may not align with U.S. policy on the subject. Now we learn that the Ukrainian government repeatedly asked Vindman to take formal control of the entire Ukrainian military, which, for the record, is a very strange thing to ask of an active-duty American military officer. And yet somehow, that constellation of facts did not raise a single red flag for our self-appointed watchdogs in the news media. Alexander Vindman is hurting Trump. Therefore, he's an American hero. That's what they know, and they don't want to know any more than that. They're adamantly uninterested, for example, in the identity of the so-called whistleblower. We learned that today from this, probably the weirdest exchange. Watch Vindman's cryptic description of the man with no name.
I spoke to 2 individuals with regards to providing some sort of readout of the call.
And what agencies were these officials with?
Department of State, Deputy Assistant Secretary George Kent, who is responsible for the portfolio Eastern Europe, including Ukraine, and an individual from the office of an individual in the intelligence community.
An individual in the intelligence community. Well, who is that exactly, Devin Nunes wanted to know. Sorry, Adam Schiff, who, by the way, has claimed not to know the identity of the whistleblower, interrupted to block the question. Watch this.
As you know, the intelligence community has 17 different agencies. What agency was this individual from?
If I could interject here, we don't want to use these proceedings.
It's our time,
I know,
Mr. Chair.
but we need to protect the whistleblower.
Please stop.
I want to make sure that there's no effort to out the whistleblower through the use of these proceedings. If the witness has a good faith belief that this may reveal the identity of the whistleblower, that is not the purpose that we are here for, and I want to advise the witness accordingly.
Now, wait a second. If you're trying at home to follow the logic chain, ask yourself this. If Schiff doesn't know the whistleblower's name, as he's repeatedly claimed, how can he know that name is about to be revealed? And by the way, you could ask the same question of Alexander Vindman. Vindman also claims not to know who the whistleblower is, yet at the same time, he told us today, his testimony could reveal the identity of the whistleblower, the one whose name he doesn't know.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, you testified in the deposition that you did not know who the whistleblower was, or is.
I do not know who the whistleblower is. That is.
Well, how is it possible for you to name these people and then out the whistleblower?
Per the advice of my counsel, I've been advised not to answer specific questions about members of the intelligence community.
It raises some questions. His claim is, my lawyers have instructed me not to say relevant things. But when Devin Nunes pushed him on that, Vindman protested that he wasn't being treated with the proper respect. Watch.
Mr. Vindman, you testified in your deposition that you did not know the whistleblower.
Ranking member, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Got that? It's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman to you. Leading candidate for Defense Minister of Ukraine. Your insolence has been noted. It went on like this today, around and around for hours and hours and hours, literally hours and hours. The one thing nobody seemed to want to talk about was how we got here in the first place, which is to say Hunter Biden. Remember him, Hunter Biden? He's the lackluster politician's son who somehow not only got into Yale Law School. Did you get into Yale Law School? Oh, you're not a genius? No, you didn't. Not only did that, but made close to $1 million working in the Ukrainian energy business despite knowing nothing about Ukraine or energy. Even by the standards of international corruption, it turned out that he struck a remarkably corrupt deal. How corrupt? Well, an analysis by Watchdog Research found that Hunter Biden's pay on the board of Burisma Energy amounted to 12 times what is typical for a company of that size. And yet some are still claiming that Hunter Biden was hired by Burisma to assist with, and we're quoting now, transparency and corporate reform. Amazing. Hilarious, actually, but also depressing, because in the end, this isn't really about Hunter Biden. It's not actually even really about the impeachment of a president. What you're seeing here, the story that's unfolding, is a story about America's ruling class, some of which has been bought off by foreign entities. Yet not surprisingly, in fact, because of that fact, that is the one thing that you're not supposed to ask about. So shut up and praise Alexander Vindman, potential Ukrainian defense minister and American hero. That's your job as you're watching along.